Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternities, a live discussion on House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2. Here joined by my sister Alyssa to talk about this episode. Alyssa, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, but am I Alyssa or am I my twin sister Elisa? One of us is Team Green, one of us is Team Black. You won't know who's who until we fight to the death.
Yeah, totally can tell. And God, what would my twin be if I'm Sir Marek? Would be
Sir Merrick.
Merrick? Yeah, there we go.
It's Arik and Ulrich, so it would be Marek and Merrick.
All right, so I wanted to start with something that's completely unrelated to House of the Dragon, but it's something that happened to me today. I just wanted to share the story. I had to go to the hospital for a procedure, and I was wearing this T-shirt here, where you see the Klingon symbol, Cardassian symbol, Starfleet. And when I went up to the receptionist, they're like, "Oh, I recognize that's a Star Wars shirt." Like, I don't really know Star Wars, but I know that's like Darth Vader. I know that's Star Wars, and I didn't have the heart to tell her, so it's just like, may the Force be with you. I didn't actually say that, but I didn't have the heart to say, no, it's Star Trek. I didn't want to be rude about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so let's go ahead and get started on this episode. What's it called? Rhaenyra the Cruel. Alyssa, if you just want to start with your overall thoughts on the episode.
I really, really like this episode a lot. Loved it. You might even say, again, this might get annoying to people who didn't read the books, but I can't help but view it as an adaptation, and I continue to be impressed about how they adapt the material and how they really fill in the gaps that the book leaves out, and how they really bring the characters to life in the way that the book doesn't. And then the scenes that are from the book, I really appreciate how they put them on the screen. I know, we talked about last week that there were book readers complaining about blood and cheese. I thought it was great. And this episode, we get a couple of key scenes, key things that need to happen. In the source material that we saw on the screen, we've got Aegon firing Otto and giving the hand of the king to Kristen. That was out in the book, and I loved how that was done, and I'm sure we'll get into the details of it later on. And then, of course, the Eric versus Arik scene. That's actually one that I was kind of looking forward to. And like it's kind of a low key, under the radar scene. It's got two characters that aren't super important, but I thought the show did a really good job of kind of bringing them to the forefront a little bit over the end of the season 1 and the beginning of season 2 to lead up to this. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Now, I do have one complaint. This is something we talked about last week, how Aegon gets rid of all the rat catchers. And in the book, they bring in 100 cats, and we don't see the cats. Like, where are the cats? Like, they should have had Otto, yell when he's yelling at Aegon and be like, thing. No, we're just going to have rats everywhere. There's no more rat catchers. What are we supposed to do? And Aegon going, well, I have a plan for that. And cut to 100 cats flooding the Red Keep. But maybe we'll still get that. We do know by Game of Thrones times there are cats just running around. There's that cat that Arya is chasing in season 1 for her test for Serial Pharrell or whatever. And Tommen was it Sir Pounce-a-lot or something?
Just Sir Pounce.
Sir Pounce.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Tommen has a cat, and we know the cat's there. By the time we get to the Game of Thrones timeline, there's cat. Also, notice not a lot of rats in the regular Game of Thrones timeline, whereas here, like, you see rats everywhere, and those rat catchers kind of sucked, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Add rats everywhere. In the regular Game of Thrones, we don't see any rats, but we see cats. So yeah, I wanted to see the cats.
The cats They're clearly better than the rat catchers.
Which is
um,
to begin with.
I'm still hoping we get that, and maybe the next episode after. So we need to see the goddamn cats. We need to be like, oh, these rats are out of control. Oh, let's bring in a whole bunch of cats. I want to see like every scene that takes place in the Red Keep. There'd be like a couple cats in the background. Hi, Brandon. How's it going? Thanks for joining. All right. So my overall thoughts on the episode, I also thought it was amazing. I think this is like it had like some of the best acting that I've seen in a Game of Thrones esque show. It's just powerhouse scene after powerhouse scene. I was completely impressed, and I think if anyone who was unimpressed with season one because they didn't like all the time jumps, they didn't like how we didn't really know any of the characters. Like, hopefully now this episode convinced them because we are now here to stay. There's no time jumps, and we're getting into it. We're delving into these characters. Yeah, we kind of flew by the other generation, Aemon, Aegon, and Jason, Luke, kind of only saw them for 2 episodes, and all of a sudden they're 8 years older. But none of that's happening anymore. And this episode gets deep into it and really does an amazing job. And that Eric arc scene was just so damn powerful. I was blown away by it. It was just so good. So in the chat, JKman99, hello, good to see us, saying they need to go back to season 1 intro and delete the bloodline of the third person son because it doesn't exist. Oh, it doesn't exist in this timeline. HBO needs to delete that bloodline. I to tell you the truth, that whole intro in season 1 with all the blood, I couldn't make heads or tails out of what the fuck was going on. I guess you're referring to one for Maegor, like Aegon and Helena's third son. Did they have a bloodline for that in the season 1 intro? But that character doesn't exist. Is that what I'm getting right? I believe. I don't know. But yeah, I don't care because I never made any sense out of that season 1 intro.
I never just talked about this last week. My eyes just kind of glazed over, like I didn't pay any attention to it.
Well, yeah, JK99 spent too much time studying it. Fair enough. I don't really get this new intro either. Like there's some things I get, but I had watched a bunch of YouTube channels that like explain everything, and I wouldn't have caught that. Like, I get they show Aegon on his throne and Rhaenyra on her throne. That's obvious, but the rest of the stuff kind of, I don't know. Blurs.
Well, I watched the YouTube videos too that explained it, and once I watched those, now I can look at it and get it on my own.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the episode. So it starts with the aftermath of Blood and Cheese, which I knew it had to, and I think it was a pretty powerful scene as the way it was shot was really nice, where we get the blurriness that combines with the hecticness of everything going on. We get Aegon going crazy with the sword and destroying Viserys' poor model. He spent years building that model. And it's funny, I was watching the behind the scenes thing and they were saying, oh yeah, we knew that model had to go. Like, Aegon was not going to keep that model around. And so that was a good way to finally get rid of it, to have him like freaking the fuck out. So I declare war. It was a really intense scene, and that's the kind of reaction you would expect from Aegon. So I thought that was really good. We also get Alicent talking to Otto about how she's feeling guilty about, of course, sleeping around while this happened, but doesn't say outright to Otto, but she's very upset. But Otto's kind of creepy in the scene because he's kind of like, oh, some good can yet come of it, which is a pretty fucked up thing to say when she just lost her grandson in such a horrible way. But anyway, your thoughts on this, Alyssa?
Yeah, it's funny that one of the YouTube videos that I watched. I think it was Screen Crush. At the start, they showed Bart Simpson and Lisa going one,
Yes.
2, 3, 4, and then they cut the Aegon going, "Oh, declare war!"
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, no, that. I mean, I think it's symbolic of the fact that Aegon did not care about his father because his father never showed any interest uh, to him. So he doesn't have any interest in his father's things. So I actually do think it is another way symbolic too that he's destroying his father's legacy because his father would not be wanting to declare war and all of this stuff. So yeah, I thought it was great that he did that. Now, as far as Otto, like what a dick! I mean, like, her Allison is crying and mourning over her grandson and her daughter too. She's upset about that, and Otto has the nerve to say some good might come of this. A toddler was murdered, and you're saying some good might come of
Yeah.
this?
Quite fucked up.
Typical Otto.
Yeah, but then we go straight from that to the small council scene, or the Green Council, whatever they call it, and Aegon's still freaking the fuck out, and this is when he's like saying, "She's laughing at me," and like throwing his drink around. Everyone's just trying to like remain calm and calm him down. And he's talking about how he just wants to go over there and kill everyone, but yeah, again, Otto's being kind of creepy, and he's like, "No, we have to have a funeral. We have to use this for propaganda. We got to use this to convince the small folk to be on our side. Let's parade the body of this dead 4-year-old around, um, and yeah, to get everyone's sympathy." And it's interesting as soon as he said that, the look Allison gives him, like, no, like, don't fucking do this. But he, and that's Aegon's first reaction too, is no, go, I don't want to appear weak. This is no one's business. He's like, no, we can use this. And Jaehaerys, this is Jaehaerys' name, right? He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, Jaehaerys can do a lot more for us than, the 1,000 swords or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's right, of course. I don't know. I think someone referred to, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Darren, or it might have been you, referred to him as the poor man's Tywin. And I can kind of see that because
Yeah.
that's the kind of scheming that Tywin would do. Is that, let's use this to our advantage.
Yeah, but I mean, sure, but there's no tact. Like he's so.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, a toddler was murdered, but this can be a good thing, really. Yeah, but I mean, sure, smart plan. Let's take advantage of it. Um, I don't know, but it also forces the women to go through that agony. It's like, oh, well, we all agree we can't have Aegon doing that, right? So we're just gonna have the gentle souls do it, like put them through through that basically torture, and yeah, and the procession itself is kind of fucked up too because it's not about, oh, Prince Jaehaerys, we'll miss him. It's about Queen Rhaenyra is evil, screw her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not celebrating Jaehaerys or mourning for him. It's just using it as a tool for propaganda.
Yeah, it's a propaganda tool. Yeah,
and then too is kind of fucked.
yeah, and the getting, like, having Allison trying to convince Helena to go where Allison didn't even want to go. It's like, it's our duty. We have to do it, and it's really fucked up. Like, she was just traumatized, like a strong, traumatic experience, and they're just forcing her to do this. And then, of course, she has like a panic attack when the wagon gets stuck, and it was. I love the way it was shot, and it was just really intense. I think it was a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we also have Sir Laris. Is it not? No, Lord Laris. I can't say Lord Laris. It sounds like Lord Varys. But anyway, Laris coming in and while Aegon's freaking the fuck out, he's like, "If I may," and then mentions that um, they caught the assassin carrying their son's head, and it's because of Aegon's like, I want to let me kill him, I'll kill him myself, but everyone's like, no, no, we need to get information from him. And it's pretty interesting because all Laris has to do is lay out these tools of like all these sharp tools, and he immediately is like, oh no, I'll tell you everything, it was Damon did it, he was and confess. That was kind of funny, and they don't show it on screen, but I get the impression from what we see later in the episode that he mentioned that Aemon was his target, because later in the episode Aemon's like, oh, they're trying to kill me, I must be
What I got, I didn't pick up on this myself, but what I saw from other people's videos is that when Aemon is doing that investigating and he's picking up the coin, and he noticed that Rat and Cheese initially came into his room.
Okay.
And the coin, I guess the coins, the deal with the coins, I was like, what is the coin he's picking up? But that was the coins that him and Kristen were using as like war tokens or whatever, like on their map or whatever. And they were all over the floor now. So he could see that someone had come into his room. So that is how he knew that they were targeting him rather than Blood saying it.
I thought there was someone else who knew that, though. I can't remember.
Well, someone else knew it, then maybe Blood said it. But that is how he got it.
Yeah, I thought there was two examples, but I can't think of the other one.
And the other person might have been told by Aemon, or
could. Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think there was someone else.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe Blood did tell him off screen as well. But yeah, it did seem like they prematurely killed Blood, because they could have, like, instead of, or this is later on, but still, instead of killing all the rat catchers, they could have brought them in like a lineup and be like, okay, which one was it? But I guess they just Aegon just really wanted to kill all of them. Didn't give a shit.
I mean, Aegon lost his temper and killed Blood immediately. Like, he wasn't thinking rationally. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In fact, in the small council room, he wanted to go. Let me at him. Let me go get. He wanted to.
Well, see, that's the thing. They convinced him to hold off long enough to get Blood to confess, so they could have just waited a little bit longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer, but he couldn't wait anymore. Like,
it was just the way Laris is like, oh, I won't hurt you, but I cannot speak for your grace.
Yeah.
But comparing it to the books, though, Blood got off easy compared to the books. Because in the books, they tortured him for 13 days until they finally gave him the mercy of killing him, is what I'm told. Here, he just got beat to death with the thing. Like, they didn't even torture him at all. He's just told, I'll tell you everything immediately. It's kind of funny. Yeah, so then when we go straight from the funeral over to Rhaenyra, and I think that was a good transition from them saying Rhaenyra the Cruel, and then we see her being informed about it and being like, oh, how could they actually think they could do this? Why the hell would I do this to Helena? I lost my own kid. Why would I do this to another kid? And that one guy was even like, oh, well, maybe in your haste, your grace, and then like really overstepping his bounds. And Rhaenys had to step in. It's like, watch yourself. So it shows like the discord in the council, and also mentioning that Otto is sending ravens to like all these houses that are, some of them might turn on her because of this. So that would severely hurt her position. She's going on about, oh, why would you, how would you think I would do this? And Damon has that look, like that look on his face. And I gotta think that when Rhaenyra noticed that and shot him the look, and it was like, looked at him, some other people in that council must have noticed the way that she looked at him.
Yeah.
But they don't show us that. They cut straight to their confrontation.
Well, before that, Rainey's gave Damon a look. She was like, "I know it was you."
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, like earlier on, she's like, "Damon." Damon's like, "What?" Like, yeah,
uh,
but yeah, I agree. I think someone probably would have had to notice that she gave that look.
and then one of those amazing scenes I was talking about was the confrontation between Rhaenyra and Damon. It was so damn good, and I think that he's lying to her when he says that because he's like, I told them to kill Aemon, and that's it. And she's like, well, what'd you say if they couldn't find Aemon? He's like, well, I didn't say anything. I think because we don't know because they cut in the previous episode to cut the scene, but I think it's heavily implied. He said, kill one of their sons and
A
just a
son for
son for a
well,
son.
we even hear Blood say Damon said a son for a son, and we did
Yeah,
see that on screen. So
yeah.
at some point off screen, he said a son for a son. So that seems like when he would have said that.
So I think he's flat out lying to her, but that leads her to, to freak out on him saying, you weakened my position, which is actually a very good point, and saying how reckless he is and that she can't trust him and that he's just bloodlust, which is something that we have seen from season one, that he is a bit reckless and out of control and does just like to kill people and fuck shit up. But I think on the other hand, though, when he says I've only been devoted to you and I want to take Harrenhal in your name, I think he is devoted to her on one hand. I think there's a duality between him. Um, but that leads into like the argument over Viserys, and he's like, he still calls it my brother's throne, and she's like, no, it's my throne. And then he says that the only reason he chose you as your heir was to spite me. It wasn't because he liked you, which I only half agree with. I think he didn't choose Rhaenyra for his heir because he thought she'd be a great queen. I think it had more to do with his guilt he felt over her mother's death, um, which we talked a lot about in season one. But anyway, your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, but I also do think it not having Damon on the throne it was a part of it too, because right before that is when Otto, reported that Damon had said the thing at the,
Yeah.
was king for a day, and Viserys got really pissed off.
Well, I
So
think
Otto trying to manipulate to make sure Damon didn't get. So I definitely think that played a role in
Well,
Viserys.
yeah, I think it played a role initially, but after Aegon was born, he could have. Everyone wanted him to switch heirs to Aegon, and he refused to do that. I
Yeah,
think that had more to do with the guilt he was feeling over Rhaenyra's mother's death.
yeah. Um, Yeah, and then another thing that comes out in this argument is Damon saying that, oh, he was just scared of me, and Rhaenyra was like, he wasn't scared of you, he just couldn't trust you, and I think
Yeah,
that Rhaenyra was 100% right, and Damon, and just like I don't know, thinking too highly of him. So, oh, he's just afraid of me, which was not true at all. Viserys wasn't afraid of him; he was couldn't trust him. So I agreed with Rhaenyra on that, and I'm glad that she
yeah,
came up with that. Um,
that was such a well acted scene too. Just the way, so intense, the way they were yelling at each other.
and
Um,
the scene that was in the trailer where she says, "Do you accept me as your queen?" And in the trailer, like they just show him going.
yeah. They make it seem like he's not answering, but
He
it's
doesn't actually. He does respond. He gives a response, but he doesn't really ever answer the question.
yeah.
He doesn't say,
Um,
"Yes, I accept you as my queen."
but in the actual episode, she doesn't just ask that and then there's a pause. She actually keeps talking and says other
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. But he doesn't really ever. He doesn't. He never says, "Yes, I fully accept you as my queen." He
Yeah.
yeah, previously, "I support you. I'm going to get Harrenhal for you," and blah blah blah. And by all accounts, it looks like from the trailer he did go to Harrenhal. um, and that I mean, in the book, he's already been in Harrenhal at this point, so he's run a little late by
Yeah,
the timeline. Um,
I was just reading the book, and the book shows him going to Harrenhal before Luke dies. So like
yeah, no,
in
he's in
a
Harrenhal
month.
a long time ago. I mean,
Yeah,
just the whole blood and cheese thing with the Raven to Massaria. Like he doesn't go to King's Landing.
yeah.
Um,
But I
so,
understand why they changed that up for the
yeah,
show.
they're changing because they want Damon to be involved more. It's
Yeah,
Matt's.
exactly. Yeah, can't just have him hanging out a Harrenhal for like all the whole entire season.
Yeah, but it does look like that is where he's headed now. We see a shot in the trailer for next week where um, you hear someone saying, "Oh, no word from Damon," so he's going to be MIA for a little bit. But I think it might be left to some question whether what he does in Harrenhal is for Rhaenyra or for himself. But I think it's going to be for Rhaenyra still. But,
I mean, I think he's gonna do it in the name of Rhaenyra, but really, it's about. I think Rhaenyra's kind of right about him. He just likes fucking shit up. He just
yeah,
likes creating chaos. But as I said, I think he is also devoted to her as well.
yeah,
There's more of like a duality.
yeah,
Because I think part of it is when he went to do the blood and cheese thing, I think part of it is he was trying to do something nice for her because she said, I want Aemon. And so he was going to satisfy that. But he just went too far by saying, oh, what if we can't find him? Oh, then no son for his son, that was the bullshit. And that's why he denies it because he knows wrong. But Rhaenyra is totally right that he just likes fucking shit up.
yeah,
And it's also the other thing I liked in this scene was when Damon said that you're just like your father, that you want to peace at all costs and to the detriment or something along those lines. Um, which also, yeah, it's something I mean, it could be true, but I don't think so because Viserys, I think, did it to a fault, where I think Rhaenyra doesn't do it to a fault. That she's actually more sensible, but Damon's just a hothead and just wants to go to war over everything.
yeah. Yeah, and Viserys was never on the precipice of war like Daenerys or Rhaenyra is right now, so it's not really comparable. Viserys wasn't ever put in a situation like this, where
Well,
when you're on the precipice of war, yeah, you should take some caution to try to see if there's anything you can do to avoid war. I mean, it makes total sense. Um,
well, there was the whole thing in the Stepstones, how he like refused to respond to it for a long time when everyone else was saying that he should. Because like, oh, I don't want to start a war with the Triarchy. And
yeah, so it's a little different than
it
this.
is, yeah, it's true, it is. But still, I think it demonstrated how he just
Yeah.
wanted peace to a fault.
Yeah, no, he did. I mean, him wanting peace to a fault and just being oblivious about everything is kind of one of the things that led to what's happening now.
Yes, absolutely. He's just like, get along. And I was like, no, that's not going to work.
Mm.
But yeah, no, that was such a good scene. But building off of the fact of Damon not really bowing to Rhaenyra and just doing his own thing, we get this follow up scene with Rhaenys and Corlys in bed when they're talking about that, and Rhaenys is implying, like, yeah, that Damon's not going to listen to her, and Corlys is like, "What are you saying that he's going to try to usurp her or not? Be the king or something?" She's like, "No, not as such, but he's just going to do what he wants. He doesn't really follow her lead."
Right. He's going to support her, but he's going to support her in his way, like not how she wants to do it.
Yeah, no, Brandon, I think that's a very good way of putting it. Damon's a hawk and Viserys was a dove. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I don't think that Rhaenyra is a dove. I think she's just more well-rounded, more reasonable than either of the two were. I think she kind of learned from both of them. All right, so We get a couple scenes with Alicent and Kristen Cole like refusing to talk to each other and feeling very guilty about it. And eventually, Alicent even goes up to Cole and is like, have you told anyone? And he's like, who? What do you take me for? It's like, I take you for someone seeking absolution because that's what he did to her back in season 1 when he slept with Rhaenyra. And he's like, no, there is no absolution for me. So that shows that he's changed and he's much more of an asshole, a hypocrite, and all sorts of things, which we'll get to a bit more later on. Um, but yeah, we also see Cole like staring at the bloody bed and everything, and feeling very fucked up about what he did. Um, so yeah, any thoughts on these scenes, Alyssa? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have so much more respect for the show version of Alicent if not for this. And then at the end of the episode, like she slaps him, and I'm like, oh, they're totally gonna make out and have sex now, and it's just like, so I just like roll my eyes at these two, like I'm
Yeah,
trying to have sympathy for you, Allison, but like this, it's just I can't have sympathy for this.
yeah, I think it's a shame because they made Allison really kind of unlikable in season 1, and they had an opportunity to because there's a lot of things you can sympathize with her this season, but kind of fucking it up by having her fuck around with Kristen Cole.
Yeah, I mean, there's still. I felt sympathy for her. Like at the beginning of the episode, I mean, I
Oh
was
yeah,
I was crying in that opening scene. Like, I mean,
shit,
I
yeah.
definitely felt sympathy for her, um,
And it's
but
not that she's like sleeping around or whatever, because I don't care about that sort of thing. It's that she's being a hypocrite.
yeah, that's right. Exactly, and that she goes right back to it at the end of the episode. Like after all that, does it
Yep. Yeah. So building off of this, we didn't get a scene with Kristen Cole going to Arik. It's
It's
Arik.
with an
What's
A. I there was another podcaster who had a good mnemonic device for this. She
uh,
said Team Green. She thinks Team Green are a holes. So the the twin is the one that starts with an A in Team Green. So they're
so it's
a hole.
Arik,
So
right?
it's Arik with an
Yeah,
A,
yeah.
and Eric with an E is Team Black.
Arik and Eric. Okay. Because sometimes when people say about their names, it sounds like they're saying the same thing.
Sometimes people say Eric for both of them, but that's not correct.
Yeah,
Team Green is Arik with an A.
Arik and yeah.
The other one is Eric with an E.
But anyway, so Kristen Cole goes up to Arik and being a total hypocrite, and he's projecting his guilt on like fucking around, literally fucking around while the young prince was getting killed, and be like, "Well, where were you?" and doing this, and it's just being a total dick to Arik. Now you could argue part of why he's doing this because he wants to intimidate him into doing this mission to go and kill Rhaenyra. But I think it's a little from column A and a little from column B. I think he's definitely taking out his projecting his own guilt onto him to try to make himself feel better and being like bullying him to make himself feel better. But at the same time, it also serves the purpose of doing this stealth mission. I know later in the episode we get a scene where Aegon's like, "Oh, Kristen Cole's taking the initiative." So, but I'm not sure if he consulted with Aegon first before doing this, or he just came
I
up with
think
it.
he just came up with it in the moment. Like I
Yeah,
think it's an impulsive thing, and then he told Aegon about it. That's how I read it.
yeah, and Aegon, of course, is all on board with this, but Otto wasn't. But we'll get to that later. But anyway, yeah. Any thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, and also at the beginning, he goes up to him. I mean, he's projecting big time because he goes up to him because Arik has his white cloak is dirty, and he's like, "Not solely the white cloak. You gotta." I mean, and everything he says is just super hypocritical. Like, it's obvious that he's feeling guilt for soling the white cloak, so he's taking that out on someone else. like just for getting dirt on it or whatever. And he's like, "Go clean it now." Um,
Yeah, if I would have to pick the least likable character of the show, I would probably pick Kristen Cole, and I think a lot of other people are
yeah,
feeling the same way. Like Laris is definitely up there as well, but I think he's more like despicable. I think Kristen Cole is just outright unlikable.
yeah, yeah. And this is like one of the things that like because he fucked up. He was, which by the way is a nice addition to the show because he wasn't having sex with Alicent in the book. He just, I guess, wasn't on duty. I don't know why he wasn't there in the book,
Yeah,
but this adds that extra layer, and he's feeling this guilt because he fucked up, and he's doing this awful thing. He's breaking his vows, and so he's taking it out on poor Arik, which is bullshit. Uh,
yeah,
and I did get the impression that he just came up with that in the moment, that mission. I've heard this described as the Parent Trap plan,
yeah. I heard that as well. Yeah,
which, which is pretty funny.
I forgot all about that movie.
Yeah. Um, which I think there was two versions of that movie. There was the one that I watched when I was a
Yeah, there was like a newer remake.
yeah. I don't remember who was in the remake. Was it
No,
Lindsay Lohan?
yeah, I think it was Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, was it the new one? Anyways,
Was Jamie Lee Curtis in the original?
no, Jamie Lee Curtis was in Freaky Friday.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking of, which also was a Lindsay Lohan remake, but I think Lindsay Lohan might have done both Freaky Friday
Right.
and Parent
Right.
Trap.
Uh,
Yeah, but anyways,
yeah, in the chat, Brandon is saying the Queen of Thorns had an Auric and Eric too. She called them left and right. Oh, I don't remember that at all, but it sounds like something she would do.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. So then we get another scene I really enjoyed with Bella and Jace, where Bella is shooting the arrows. We get like a little bonding scene between them. Like she's pissed off at her father because he didn't even acknowledge her when she's like father, and he just fucked off and left, which she was kind of pissed about. And then so she was asking Jace about his fathers. And it's funny she didn't like use the word father, but it was definitely implied, and they were okay with it. And so I thought that was kind of cool, like in how he was saying, like, I think Sir Halloween Strong loved me, and she's like, of course he did. And but she wasn't saying that to be like, you're a bastard or anything like that, but saying that, yeah, your father actually did care about you. And I think in a way it's implying that she knows her father cares about her as well, even if he doesn't show it. um and then Jace tops it off by saying, I miss Luke. And I think it was a really good scene. I don't think we get enough of these characters. I did hear we were going to get more of Bella and, oh, sorry, what was her sister's name? Was it
Raina. Raina.
Rhaenyra? Okay. Yeah, I heard we were going to get more of them in this season, which I hope is true.
Yeah, it looks that way. And already we see a scene from a trailer with her like doing a nosedive on Moon Dancer, and Moon Dancer going, "Rawr!" So
Yeah, so I was just reading the book, and it seemed like in the book that her dragon was too small to ride, and that she wasn't really one of the
that's
dragon riders.
Raina. Raina's dragon is too small to ride.
Now, I thought Rain at this stage, Rhaenyra didn't have a dragon.
She doesn't, but then well, this is kind of a spoiler for the show because it's of the show. But
Yeah.
she hatches an egg and it's too small.
No, but I was just reading that Bella's dragon was too small. So at this stage, because I just read this part of the book, at this stage, Rhaenyra doesn't have a dragon, but Bella's is too small to ride.
Well, not in the show.
Yeah, yeah. So they definitely. So I think that's a good move to change that up and to have her more involved. But yeah, it brings the element of mystery because I don't know what they're gonna do with her. So
Yeah.
like,
And I'm sorry, this is off topic, but I have to respond to Brandon. Yes, the Freaky Friday in the 70s was young Jodie Foster when Jodie Foster was a child actor. And the Freaky
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that.
90s, was it the 90s probably of Lindsay Lohan or early 2000s? Probably 90s. That was
I
Lindsay
think it
Lohan.
was early 2000s.
Yeah, one or the other. And Jamie
Yeah.
Lee Curtis was the mom
Yeah.
in
Okay. Right.
Lohan being the daughter. And in the original, I don't remember who the mom was. It was probably some, I don't know, 70s actress. I don't know. But I remember Jodie Foster was the daughter.
Brandon's saying slightly jealous. You've seen the trailer for episode 3. Well, it's on YouTube. I believe. I believe.
Yeah,
You
it's on YouTube. Just Google
yeah.
it. Or just
Go check it
put
out.
YouTube search. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't have to be jealous. Just go watch it.
But yeah, did you have any other thoughts on the Jason Bella scene? They're sort of
Oh yeah,
bonding.
no, I think that Bella is, mad at her father just in general because he hasn't really been a great father.
No.
Like he doesn't, he was probably mad that he had two daughters and didn't have a son, and like when their mother died, he wasn't there for them at all.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he's never really been a good, caring father.
So if I remember this correctly, Bella went to ward with Rhaenys on Driftmark, right?
Yeah,
And Rhaena stayed with Damon and Rhaenyra. Is that what happened?
I know that Bela definitely went to Driftmark with
Yeah.
Rhaenys, and I
Yeah.
think Rhaena did stay with Damon and Rhaenyra. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Brandon pointing out he's got two sons by
Now, but initially when he was with Lena, he didn't have any sons.
yeah.
Later, the two sons came later.
Yeah, and then so we get another nice scene that I really liked, another character moment with Aemond in the whorehouse with the prostitute. This is the same one we saw at the end of season 1. And I think this is. I heard watched so many videos about all the symbolism about him curling up in the fetal position, but I think it's ultimately it does seem like he is using her as kind of a mother figure because his mother was kind of absentee. Like talk about like horrible parents. This is another thing I think, and we'll get into this later on. That Alyssa, I get the impression, was never a good mother to her children. And so he's like opening up and he's saying pretty much what was implied at the end of season 1, that he didn't want to kill Luke and he's actually sorry about it. But it's interesting, he'll only confess that to this prostitute. Like he definitely probably keeps this hidden from like everyone else, all the royals and his family and everything.
Yeah, no, he seems to own it. He seems to
Yeah.
yeah, I killed him in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I killed them and I hope they burn in hell. No, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you have any other thoughts about this scene?
And yeah, I recognize this this woman as the one who was in season 1 when
Yes.
I think is when Eamon and Kristen Cole were looking for Aegon, and she was
So
so
doing the whole wearing King's Landing is Aegon San Diego.
right. Yeah. And yeah. And she has an interesting line where it was something like, when what was it when princes kill? I don't know. When princes play, it affects all the small folk.
When they lose their temper.
They lose their temper.
Yeah. Yeah, it affects the small folk. And so we go straight from this to the next scene, seeing Hugh the Hammer, which I'm going to avoid future spoilers.
Are we going to do a spoiler section at the end of this?
Yes, we will.
think you announced it that we were going to do a
Oh, I
spoiler.
haven't. No, I was going to surprise everyone, but we can, we can announce it now.
Yeah, spoiler section.
Since it's Darren's not here, it's just the book readers. But we're gonna wait till the end of the video. So if you haven't read the books, you're all good now, and we'll give you proper warning before we get into that. But yeah, that will be after we talk about the episodes. So that I'm gonna save some stuff about Hugh the Hammer there. I will just say, and because I don't really consider this a spoiler, is that it seems like they're setting up his character to be very different in the show, because we get this, like, his family and he got a sick daughter, and they're not getting enough money to feed themselves, and food is scarce because of the blockade. I think this is a great scene regardless of what they're going to do with Hugh in the future, because it shows, like, how Rhaenyra's blockade is, and this war in general affects the small folk. It affects the simple people who don't care, who aren't royal families. They're not part of this war, yet they're the ones that suffer the most, which is a theme that comes up repeatedly. But I think this is a really nice way to hammer that. Sorry, pun there. Nice way to hammer that home.
Yeah, and I am really curious what they're going to do with this character on the show, because we'll talk about this in the spoiler section, but to get from point A, where they are with him, to where he does the things in the books that he does, it seems like they're going to have to do something or change that. I don't know. Some really interesting. I do wonder if, like, people who haven't read the book, like, are going like, why are we watching this stupid guy we saw for 5 seconds in the last week's episode? But in addition to setting him up for whatever it is he does later, you're right. It does really, like, show how the small folk are being affected, which this episode does a lot of. We also get, I don't know if we're going to talk about Adam and Alan later.
Oh, next. We can talk about them now. That was up next.
Yeah. And then that prostitute with Aemon.
Yes.
Really focusing on the small folk, which is good. I think that a Game of Thrones maybe did that, in the beginning. I think they kind of were getting away from that. And
yeah, I don't think they did it enough, honestly.
Yeah, it was really about the Game of Thrones and the High Lords playing their games and all of that, and never really, or rarely. I think with what's her face, Shay, was it?
Yeah,
girlfriend. I mean, we got a little bit of that, like, in the earlier seasons, and maybe a couple other characters, but yeah, they didn't do it enough. And I like that House of the Dragon is showing us that aspect of it, like showing it from the point of view of the small folk.
Yeah. So Brandon put a bunch of hammers in the chat, so it must be hammer time. Sorry. Stop. Hammer time. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, no, as I said, I wanted to talk about Adam and Alan. So this introduction to Adam, he was just mentioned in the previous episode, and again, can't really say much about this without getting into spoilers, but it's interesting. We see how humble that Alan is, where Adam's like trying to pushing him. It's like, well, aren't you going to go on this adventure with the sea snake? Why would you pass that up? He's like, I hope no, he hasn't asked me, and I hope he doesn't, because it's terrible out there. Again, this is getting into how small folk are affected, where it's interesting seeing the different perspectives, where Adam just wants war and glory, but Alan's just like, nah, I'll pass. It's a bit horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know what else to say without getting the spoilers. But yeah, I'm glad that, at this point in the book, these characters aren't introduced yet. They're introduced a little bit later. So I'm glad they're kind of laying a little bit of the groundwork for these characters, kind of, slowly introducing us to who they are. And then I don't remember if it was right after this or if it's later, we have Adam like digging in the sand for clams or whatever. Like that's very much, something the small folk do, not something
And the other thing is, again, I've heard people talk about the symbolism in that scene because there's a dragon flying over him, so the dragon represents the royalty and the grandiose, while he's just digging in the sand for like
Yeah,
tiny little crabs. I was reminded of the crab feeder, but I'm not sure there's any parallels there. That
yeah, that's
wasn't
right. It
in
was
the.
crabs. It wasn't clams. It was crabs he was digging for. Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to make. The dragon flies over, and that's like the symbolism of like this just grandiose like royal life that like he has no part of. Um, when we get to the spoiler section, there's another thing we can talk about with this scene, but for
Yeah.
now, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
All right. So, let's see. We already talked about that one. Okay. So, we get a couple scenes with Rhaenyra and Mysaria. That's how you say her name, Mysaria.
Miseria, yeah,
Yeah.
Miseria. Yeah.
Um, and these were really interesting. I think these were interesting, like this sort of like dialogue, character building scenes that Game of Thrones did very well in this earlier seasons. Anyway, don't talk about the later ones, but but and I think this is and it's really interesting seeing their two different perspectives, where Rhaenyra is coming from the point of view is I can't trust this person. She's schemy, she's swarmy, and she conspired with Daemon to kill a little boy. But she was trying to explain, like, look, I didn't had no part in that. All I did was give him two names. I didn't even want to do that, but he just told me that he would set me free. And it is interesting that he just fucked off without setting her free. And at first, Rhaenyra was just like, no, I can't do it because, you're probably going to betray me. At worst, you're going to betray me, but at best, I'm giving up an asset. But she eventually changes her mind. She does go to set her free, and I think that changes Myzera's mind about Rhaenyra and makes her see as a bit more respectful. But it was also interesting in that scene getting Myzera talk about her background, how she had to be a self-made person, and and how Otto betrayed her by burning the house down. But she was like, I'm kind of glad he did that though, because I'm sick of like doing stuff that is important or whatever. Well, I can't remember the word she said. Like, I don't want to do anything of relevance.
Yeah, that was interesting. But then she does alert the guard when she sees Arik. So I'm wondering if she's going to go back on that and maybe end up getting back into the game.
Yeah, so my impression of that was that the Rhaenyra gained her respect by being like, "Look, my house owes you said you would do this, so we owe it to you. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you a trip straight to Mir," and it made her. And also the conversation earlier, I think, made her respect Rhaenyra, and I think you can see this. I think it's a good performance. You can see it on the actress' face when she saw Ark. She was like, and trying to decide if she should actually do something. She's like, "Yeah, no, let's warn her about that."
Yeah,
Because Eric had just walked her through the thing, so she knew that
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
But yeah, did you have any other thoughts on Myzeria?
Um, no, I don't have much to add to what you said. I kind of agree with everything you said about that, and um, yeah, I'm actually really interested to see how this character fits in. I have a feeling she's not getting on that boat, and she might still stick around, or she may come back or something. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
That would be my guess. Yeah. um. So we already talked about how they killed all the rat catchers, and there's no cats. So we need to get some cats. Goddamn. But that was an interesting scene. Again, this is another one actually that plays to the small folk perspective of it, where we see the people hanging, and it's like, oh, that's my son, and just the mother is crying over it, and this one guy is like, well, who are those people? um, but yeah, so that was a really interesting way to play that scene, and then you had Otto come in and start yelling at Aegon for he was like, "Why did you do it?" And he was like, "You're gonna have to be more specific." And it was like, "The rat catchers." He's like, "Oh yeah, fuck them, kill them all." And it's interesting. comparing Otto to Tywin because I don't think Tywin would give a shit. I don't know. Where Otto seems to, I don't think Tywin ever really cared what the small folk thought. He maybe cared what the other houses thought, but Otto seems to be more concerned about what people think. And also, like, this kind of bullshit, like, that Aegon's doing, like killing all the rat catchers, like Joffrey would do that on a big daily basis. He would do that 2 or 3 times a day. But so he's still not as bad as Joffrey. But yeah, that was an interesting sort of setup, and of course, it set it up. The whole argument between them was interesting when he revealed that the thing with Eric and Arik, and Otto was just like, "Oh, you just sent him over to do this prank." And I'm like, well, maybe you're underselling it a little bit because it almost worked, but but they made it clear that they didn't clear because I was asking if he cleared it with Aegon first, but they made it very clear that they didn't clear it with anyone else, with Otto or any of the council, and he was pissed off about that. And again, this is another one of those amazing scenes with like such good acting in it, where they were just like, yelling over this about how Aegon just, I think they paraphrased the books saying that we should spill blood, not ink, which was an interesting thing. And because, yeah, I was just reading the section in the book. It just says, like, oh, yeah, Aegon got sick of Otto sitting around writing letters, so kicked him out. But this was like, goes so much deeper than that. And it's like, and gets into so much more detail. I think it's like, it really sells it. And I think it's so much better. But yeah, that the whole thing when Otto just, I think he kind of just got exasperated with Aegon. I was like, you know what? This wasn't a good idea putting you on the throne. I wish that fucking Viserys was still alive. And then he reveals that, and Aegon's like, oh, but my father chose me. And he just laughs. Oh, did you really think that? That's pretty a striking blow considering at the end of season 1, like he didn't believe it at first, but his mother's like, no, you idiot, he definitely chose you. And it seems like he bought it, but then Otto just shattered that bubble, and I think that's why he kind of snapped it. Like, all right, fuck you then. Give me that freaking Hand of the King badge.
Yeah, again, this is an example of what I was talking about at the beginning of where they've taken just a simple passage from the book and really making it come to life and adding so much to it. And that's what this show has done well. But I do want to backtrack. You kind of combine two scenes. I want to backtrack to the rat catchers first before we get into that scene. I found it interesting that they do show us Cheese hanging, because that is a change from the books. In the book, he is not found. They don't know what happened to him. He just kind of went off to the night, never to be heard from again, and they don't know.
Well, it could be that they hanged him because in the show they don't know it's him. They just happen to hang all the rat catchers, which is what they did in the books too. So as far as they know, they could have hanged him as well.
What I recall is that the book specifically said that they don't know what happened with Cheese, that he escaped.
But, well, yeah, they don't know what happened, but that could mean he got hanged. That's a possibility because they have no idea.
It was specific that he escaped. Like he definitely escaped.
I got more of the impression that they're just not sure. It could be anything. Maybe he escaped. Maybe he was hanged. Maybe this.
And anyway, I thought it would have been even more like powerful to show what doofus Aegon was if they did show Cheese specifically escaping, and that if he killed all the rat catchers and still didn't even get the
yeah, no, I actually thought that would have been more interesting too.
To make it even look like more of a doofus that he killed all the rat catchers for nothing. But I mean, he still killed a bunch of innocent people. So,
and you get the dog crying for him.
He was mean to that dog.
Like, no. Blood was mean to the dog.
Okay,
that was his dog.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. I thought both of them were mean to the dog. Okay.
No. Blood did that kind of to piss Cheese off. He like kicked the dog when he got pissed off at Cheese.
Okay. Well, the poor dog. The dog is still better off than Prince Jaehaerys, though. So. Um, Now, as for this scene with Otto and Aegon, um, as Brandon in the chat earlier said that this episode even got him to feel a little bad about Otto or feel a little sympathy for Otto. I feel none. You reap what you sow. Aegon is the king all because of you. This is what you wanted. You pushed for this. You made this happen for years. And you could argue that Aegon even exists as a human being because of Otto, because Otto coaxed his daughter into going to Viserys. So this is all you. This is exactly what you wanted, and you get what you deserve. So I have zero sympathy for Otto. If he had only allowed Rhaenyra to be queen, we would have someone who was trained by Viserys her whole life, who was prepared for the position, who would be more thoughtful, who would be more considerate and weigh big decisions, and actually know how to rule and take advice from people who know more than her, although probably not Otto because he's a dick, but like other people who know more than her. And she would be a much wiser ruler if only he had allowed her to be queen. But this is what he really wanted. He wanted this jerk off who had no experience being a king, has no idea how to be a king. This is exactly what Otto wanted, and he got what he wanted. So zero sympathy for Otto in this. In fact, I take satisfaction of him getting mad about something he created. This is your monster that you created. So it's 100% your fault, and you deserve to get fired. His Hand of the King. And by the way, choosing Kristen Cole as the Hand of the King also proves like how incompetent Aegon is, because Kristen Cole is the worst choice. I've heard a few people use the term failed up, like Kristen
Yes.
Cole
Yeah.
failed up. He failed to protect the heir to the throne because he was fucking the queen, and then he gets promoted for it. So it's
Well,
a definition of failing upwards.
and it seems like, and again, we talk about spur of the moments thing. I don't think this, firing Otto was planned. I think Otto just went too far and Aegon snapped.
I mean, I think
And
he
so,
was thinking about it, because
oh well, like Laris was,
on
yeah,
the radar a lot. So I think he was like, yeah, maybe I should fire him, but I don't think he had made the decision.
no, yeah, I think that was he might have had it in his mind, but I think it was a split decision after Otto said, "Oh, you think your father actually chose you?" He's like, "All right, fuck you then, and give me that goddamn pendant." But and then also promoting Cole was also like something I think that he didn't think about at all. I think he did that just to spite Otto. He's like, all right, well, you don't like Kristen Cole? I'm gonna make him Hand of the King. How about that, motherfucker?
Yeah, which shows just how bad of a king Aegon is.
Yeah. But I was thinking about this is another interesting difference between Otto and Tywin, because if you think about if Joffrey tried to fire Tywin, like that never would have happened. Like no one would have enforced it. Everyone would just be if he's like, "Get fire!" You're fired. You're no longer Hand of the King, and Tywin would just be like, "All right, well, put the king to bed. He's being a dick," and everyone around him would listen to him because Tywin command so much authority and he was so intimidating. Everyone was scared shitless of Tywin, and they wouldn't give a fuck about Joffrey. He had the true power, whereas Otto doesn't have that at all.
No, that's why I called him the poor man's Tywin.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a wannabe Tywin Lannister.
A wannabe, yeah. Yeah, but no, that was a really that was just such a good scene. So so then we get into the big Eric and Arik battle, and this was just so amazing. One of my favorite scenes, I don't know if it's up there for the entire show. And because I knew this was coming, but I had no idea it was going to be this good. And I think this is something that was really, really elevated from the books. A couple things they changed was made it so Rhaenyra is in the room and that she was at risk, and that I think added like the whole scene with Arik just like creeping around the castle. It was like so intense. It was so suspenseful. Like they were building the suspense. You were like on the edge of your seat. Especially they added that bit with Mazaria seeing him. Um, and so when the two finally clashed, like it was such an intense fight scene. It was like again the edge of your seat, even though I knew what the outcome was going to be. It was still like super intense and heartbreaking at the end when he was saying "I love you, brother," and still killed each other. And it's interesting because again, getting back to the book, it's written as a history book, and they have several different perspectives and different accountings, so you never know which one actually happened. And apparently, one of the accountings was that they did say "I love you, brother" right before they fought, and another account is they're cursing each other, calling each other's traitors and whatnot. And I'm glad they went more with the "I love you" part. I think that was actually a lot more powerful. I think it really hits home the whole brother versus brother thing and how this is like it's comparing it to the American Civil War, where it's literally called brother versus brother, where it's showing it's the same thing. It's kind of like these two, the Targaryen families warring, and it's causing all these microcosms, and it causes these two brothers that love each other to kill each other. I mean, it's such an intense tragedy.
Yeah, this was a great scene. I also loved that they had to take place in Rhaenyra's room because in the book he doesn't get that far. He doesn't
No.
get to the chamber. But it adds to the tension because while he's fighting Eric, he's also taking swipes at Rhaenyra and almost gets her a couple times. So it really kind of adds to that tension that it's not just two dudes fighting in the hallway or whatever. They're fighting literally and for Rhaenyra's life. um, so I love that. Also, you mentioned there was three different perspectives. None of them, I believe, said that Eric killed himself. So I think that
No,
was
yeah, that's a new thing for the
that was
show.
a
Yeah.
good thing as well. But I thought that worked really well because he loves his brother. He's also a kinslayer, which I guess in the religion of the seven, that's like one of the worst things you could do is like be
Yeah.
a kinslayer. So it makes sense to me that he would just take his own life at that point. Um, so that was good. And the fight scene was really intense. I noticed they turned the music off and they just so you just focus
Yeah.
on the fighting. I thought that was really effective. Um, so everything they did with that scene was just really effective. Um, and it wasn't really it was kind of a little tropey when that other dude came in and was like, I can't tell who's who. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't know if that was necessary per se, but
Well, that was in the book. Apparently, there were a lot of well, in the book there was a lot of onlookers, but no one interfered because no one could tell who was who.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but that did remind me of like the two Kirks fighting each other. They did that a couple times.
I mean,
Which one's the good one?
no, that's I've seen that in so many different things. I don't know which one, and then usually it's like, uh, you know, they they say something that the other character goes, "Oh, well, that person would never say this," and she.
Well, they didn't go that far.
Yeah, they didn't go that far.
I mean,
Um,
they did have the after Eric killed Arik. You could tell they still weren't entirely sure if it was Eric, and he said "Your Grace," but I was thinking he could have been like, just kidding," tried to kill her, like pretending to be Eric to kill her. But I'm glad
yeah,
they didn't do that. That would be dumb.
yeah, yeah, no. And I think it was Eric who survived longer in the book. One of the the versions of the story was that Eric actually dies later from his wounds.
Yeah, that was the version. That was Mushroom's version where they were cursing each other.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think in the version where they said they love each other, they both died there.
Yeah. Yeah. But Brandon says, I did not realize those two men are actual twins. Yeah. They actually got actual twin actors instead of just doing the same person and doubling him up,
It's
which,
probably cheaper for them to do it that way, easier.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, one actor played Eric and one played Ark.
Yeah, I remember like when we were reviewing doing these discussions for season one, and they introduced these characters, and I think Darren was here, and we were like the whole time, like wanting because we knew where this was going.
Yeah. Now I'm glad that they, because they didn't really introduce them until the end of season one, but I'm glad they
Yeah, I
showed.
think it was episode 9, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it was episode 9, and they were arguing about Aegon, and then it's episode 10 when Eric goes and presents the crown to
Yeah, yeah.
Rhaenyra, and so, and of course we got a couple of scenes with each of them in the first episode of this season, particularly the good line that we talked about from Eric last season when he had, or last week when he was talking to Damon, and he said like, well, what am I supposed to do when I swear my loyalty to the entire royal family? So what am I supposed to do when the royal family fights itself? So kind of that little good scene with him. So I mean, they didn't build these characters up, to the level of the main characters, but they gave them enough scenes that we do care about them. We do know who they are. So I'm glad that they were able to do that a little bit, rather than just having these two random twins. Like, because in the book it kind of reads like, why do I care about these guys? I don't know, these two twins.
Yeah, I mean, it was somewhat interesting in the books, but this is like way more interesting. It was way more vitriol and intense and personal. But I do have to correct myself. I'm thinking about it. I think it was actually episode 8 that they introduced. I think they just introduced Arik in episode 8, and then we got Eric in episode 9.
Episode 9 was the one where they were arguing with each other, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think in episode 8, they had Aegon like raped his handmaiden or something, and Arik was the one who told Alyssa about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, in the chat, Brandon is saying the Aegon Rhaenyra conflict is based on the fight between Empress Matilda and King Stephen for the English throne from 1135 to 1154. I got to be honest, when I first read that, I read Stephen King. I'm like, Stephen King? King Stephen. No, that's interesting. I didn't hear that, but I know that George R. R. Martin based a lot of his stuff off of history. But yeah, no, this really, it was a really good payoff. Even so, these two characters were only in the 4 episodes then, really, but I think it was totally worth it. I remember towards season 1, I was unsure if they were going to do this, but when I saw they finally, because I thought, they would have introduced these characters by now, but I think it was okay introducing them. It still worked introducing them late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, they might not have been around when the kids were younger. Or like,
yeah.
No, this was actually a scene from the book that I was looking forward to seeing how they would do it, and I thought they did an excellent job.
All right, so where are we? My notes are confusing now. Where am I? Okay, so we get Otto, the conversation between Otto Hightower and Alicent after he's been kicked out, which is interesting, and I will mention this here because it's not a spoiler, but well, not really, but They mentioned Daeron. They mentioned Allison's fourth son, who was not mentioned at all in season one. And so I think show people who hadn't read the books or just watching the show might not even notice, or might be like, what? She has a fourth son since when?
Fourth child, but third son, fourth
Oh, yeah,
child.
third son. You're right. Fourth child, third son. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the West, our friend Darren is not here with us, but it's like the Westerosi version of his name. Yeah, I kept thinking, like, are they just cutting that character out? Because they never even mentioned him. But both Ryan Condal and George R. R. Martin said last season, oh no, he's here, he's there. We just really wanted to get him in season one, but we just couldn't fit him in. You couldn't fit in a name drop?
Yeah, you could have name dropped him.
Like, just show that he exists. So this is the first time that he has name dropped without without spoiling anything specific. He kind of does important things in the book. So it's like,
I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was like, they have to have him in this show because it would change. It would be so different if they cut him out.
yeah, he has to be there. So he finally gets name dropped. I do not recall that Otto leaves King's Landing, like he said he's going to.
No, I was reading the book just now, and I didn't read anything about him leaving.
Because he definitely, if they're going to continue to follow with the book, again, not giving specific spoilers, but he does need to be in King's Landing later for a very key reason. So either they're going to change that or he's going to leave and go back. But we can get into that in the spoiler section. But
yeah,
this is something new where he leaves. He did leave, like the first time when Viserys took away his hand of the king thing. That was in the book.
Yeah,
he left in the show as well, and then came back. But him leaving here is a new thing. And he says first he's going to Old Town, and Alicent tells him to go to Highgarden instead and get the Tyrells on their side. So
yeah, I wonder if they are going to have him show that, have him go to Highgarden.
Yeah,
would be interesting.
One thing I do have to, this is a side note, but I do have to say I have really appreciated about Game of Thrones because and House of the Dragon, because I just had this like thought, what if the Tyrell is played by the actress who played Marjorie? And I was like, oh, that would be Star Trek.
We'll have Brent Spiner play all of his ancestors.
Yeah, I'm so glad that they're not just using it to play the ancestors.
Yeah. No, yeah, these shows are definitely better than that. They do get actors that somewhat look alike, but that's fine. Just don't get the exact same actors. But but this is a really interesting scene because he was, saying how everything's gonna go to shit now because Aegon doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Kristen Cole certainly doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but Alicent's kind of making a pact with them, being like, "Look, I'll look after them. I'll try to guide them in the right direction. But meanwhile, you can do all this shit done. You can get the Tyrells, get the Reach in order, and get Hightower and gather forces there, so you can still be useful. In the meantime, I'll try to get things under control here," which I think it's an interesting dynamic considering at the end of season one they were working against each other. So it was interesting to see them now working together, but again they have kind of like they have to deal with Aegon being a fuckwit, so they have to work together in that regard.
Again, they both wanted this. So.
Yep. This is the bet of their making. But then another thing interesting about this scene is when Alicent, tries to confess to Otto. It's like, I have sinned, and I can't remember what he says, but it's like along the lines of, I don't care. Don't even tell me about it.
Yeah. Which is not helpful, because I think it would have been helpful to her to get that off her chest. And maybe she wouldn't have gone back and done it again. If she had.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if Otto already knew or not. I kind of thought maybe he did, but then I heard the argument that, well, if he did, he would have tried to stop it, or he would have said something, he would have intervened, which probably is true. So maybe he didn't know. Larry's,
Yeah,
but Otto, I'm not sure whether he knows or not.
yeah, I think Laris knows. Yeah,
Well, Larry's 100% knows. He was
yeah.
like, "Oh, you were indisposed." Like, and Allison knows he knows. That's why she's creeped out by him. But anyways, and Otto, I wasn't sure. At first, I thought he did know, but then I was like, well, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, but then yeah, they go right back at it again, and it's just like, oh, God, they just have no self control, no self respect. And the scene, it was kind of predictable when she started slapping him. I was like, yeah, they're gonna start making.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
I know. I was just gonna ask if you think this is like bad script writing, or is it just, oh, these characters in the universe are such assholes?
No, I think it's more in universe. I don't think it's bad
Okay.
script.
Yeah.
I was going to say, though, I did agree with what you said in your review that Eric versus Ark should have been the final scene. I think.
Yes.
I think this stuff should have come earlier, and you end with Eric versus Ark.
Yeah, that was certainly the most powerful. Usually they end the episode like on the most powerful note. Like
Yeah, and it'll be very similar to Blood and Cheese, where you're following Blood and Cheese for a while, like just one camera shot, just following them, everything they do. You could do that with Ark, like they did do, but end the episode with that. I think would be my one critique on this episode, other than the cats. The cats is the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I gave this episode a 9 out of 10. What would you think you would give it, Alyssa?
That sounds about right for me too. I think I would also give this a 9.
Yeah, I think it's almost out of 10, but I don't think it doesn't quite get there. But that Eric and Ark scene, and then you got some really good dialogue scenes throughout the episode too. Yeah, I think this season's going to turn out to be amazing. Personally,
I think so too.
All right, so let's get into book spoilers. So I do like to thank anyone who's watching who needs to bow out. Please bow out if you haven't read the books. I don't want to be responsible for spoiling everything. Hold on, I'll put a little warning in the chat. For anyone else who joins. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Who needs to bow out now? Thank you so much. Be sure to check out my channel and check out Alyssa's channel as well. And let's see. Huh. I thought they had a thing where I could put this on the screen. I'm not seeing the option.
I thought there was too.
Let's see, I'm pinning it. That just shows it on top of the chat. Oh well. Let's see. No. Okay, never mind. Maybe they took away that ability. Anyway.
Hold on. We can do this.
Oh, there we go.
Just put it in. No. Spoilers! Okay.
Oh, Brandon, $10 super chat. Thanks to you so much. And does that mean you're bowing out now? I can't remember if you read the books or not.
He has definitely read the books. He's been talking about the books the whole time.
Oh, okay. All right.
We can stay here.
Yeah. But yeah, no, thanks so much, Brandon. So anyway, yeah, so we're getting into book spoilers now. So definitely bow out. Okay, so I was thinking about how the rest of the season is going to be laid out. I can't remember if you mentioned this in your prediction video. But I think because there's like major events, I think each episode is going to hit. Like episode 1 was Blood and Cheese. Episode 2 was Eric and Arik. I think episode 3 is going to be the dragon seeds, or at least setting it up.
They can't have the dragon seeds though until after um,
Rook's
Rhaenys
Roost?
dies, because I mean they could set up for it.
Yeah, I've set it
They
up. Like, to
can't
get
really have,
all the
like,
people go out and try to get the dragons and get killed by them and shit.
yeah, you can maybe set up for it, but um, Alan and Adam being revealed as the sea snakes bastards, that only he only becomes comfortable with that after Rhaenys is dead because he doesn't want. Um,
Well, I wonder if they're gonna, because in the books, Alan and Adam, like their mother, claimed that they were the bastards of Lena or Lanor, yeah. And I wonder if they're gonna do that as well, or just flat out say they're coreless.
one of my predictions was that they would flat out say it was Corliss because
Oh, okay.
it makes no sense that Laenor's gay. He's not gonna like have a bastard.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes you think that she was lying.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
definitely lying. And the book, I actually got in an argument with somebody in the comments about this, but the book definitely says it was mushrooms theory that it was Lord Corliss was the father, and the book says that here we must agree with Mushroom. That seems like the most likely thing, and most people in Rhaenyra's court probably thought the same thing. But he wasn't comfortable. Although in the book he wasn't comfortable bringing them there until Rhaenys died, but they're already kind of around. So, but I think like he might bring them like forward to try to write for the dragons, like.
I kind of get the impression, though, in the show, the scenes we got with them so far, that Alan and Adam don't know this.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
They do. I think he might reveal it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
don't think.
well, episode 3, as you said, we're definitely gonna get Harrenhal, but I think they're gonna set up for the dragon seeds. I can't. I don't know if there's any other major events
So the
because
major event is Rook's Rest,
which
which
is was
which will be episode 4. I
yeah.
predicted episode 3, but that prediction is wrong. It's going to be episode
Yeah,
4.
did we hear because I thought I heard somewhere officially someone say it's going to be episode 4.
I don't know if it's official, but it's just from what people have been able to put together from trailer footage. Like it seems super likely it's episode 4. It's definitely not next episode.
Yeah,
So
that's what. Yeah, that's why I think we'll get like Harrenhal and stuff, and maybe because I think it's sometime after Rook's Rest and before the Battle of the Gullet. We get the book describes all these battles in the Reach. And
yeah.
I'm thinking, and then when Daeron shows up with his dragon, I'm thinking maybe the show's going to skip over that. But then again, they're sending Otto to the Reach, so maybe they're sending him there because they want to actually show
They want
this.
to actually show that. Well, my prediction was that they would have that off screen, either cut it out entirely or reference it and not actually show it. But putting Otto there, maybe they will show it now. So who knows?
Yeah, so that maybe that could be episode 5, and then the dragon seeds actually, like Hugh the Hammer and everyone actually becoming dragon riders, could be episode 5, and then episode 6 I think will be the Battle of the Gullet.
Yeah, well, some commenter on my video was like, "Oh, it's been confirmed they're not doing the Battle of the Gullet this year."
What?
So I don't know.
Well, how is Jace gonna die then?
Yeah, I don't know. Like because I think they have to end this season with Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne.
Yes.
I mean, they have to, and that chronologically comes after the Battle.
And Jace needs to die.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do some other battle or whatever, but why not do the Battle of the Gullet?
So,
I don't know. I would be a bit disappointed if they didn't do it.
Yeah, so I don't know where this person's getting that information, or if that. I still think I'm dubious of that information because if they're not going to have the Battle of the Gullet, then Jace is going to die in some other way because he's got to die.
Well, I mean, if they make something that's really powerful and emotionally good, then okay, then maybe I can go with it. Maybe they just don't have the money to do a big sea battle.
But they've already set up for it, though. Like they have the blockade. They made such a big deal about the blockades in episode 1.
Yeah, that's true. But the one thing that they didn't set up for that I was thinking about is that Otto is the one who sends all the letters to the triarchy, or the what they call the
I
three
mean, they could
sisters.
retroactively say like, "Oh, he
Yeah,
sent all."
true. Yeah, they definitely could. Yeah.
They could because he wouldn't necessarily tell Aegon that. So he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh." So
Yeah.
they could. They haven't set up for that piece of it yet, but they've definitely set up for the gullet and the blockade. So I don't know where this dude is getting that information, but I can't see that they wouldn't have the battle of the gullet. I could be wrong about the episode. I said episode 6, maybe it's episode 7 that it happens, but I don't see how you avoid it.
So my guess would be episode 6, and episode 7's kind of dealing with the aftermath of
That was
Jason's
my
death.
prediction. That was what I predicted.
Yeah, and then setting up for the finale. And the finale, Rhaenyra takes King's Landing.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think,
those, I think, are the major beats from. Yeah.
yeah. By the way, I do have to say this now that we're in book spoiler territory. Adam looking up at sea smoke. Like
Yes. That's what I was like. I was trying not to say anything.
So we're like, so he's like, oh yes, it's the symbolism of the grandiose nature of the game. He's gonna ride that dragon.
So the first time I read the book it was like 2 years ago when season 1 came out, and I didn't really keep track of all the different dragons and dragon riders, and I just went through it today and was reading, but I only read up to the part that Rhaenyra takes King's Landing because that's where I think season 2 is going to end. But I can't remember. Does he ever get a dragon or no?
I don't think that he does. He
Yeah.
ends up, but Adam gets killed, and Alan ends up being the heir to Driftmark. So he actually stays around in the story for quite a bit longer beyond the Dance of the Dragon.
Yeah, I was reading Beyond. Yeah, that a couple of weeks ago.
He becomes the Lord of Driftmark, so he does become very important. But I don't think he rides a dragon, which probably explains why the show seems to really be putting more attention on Alan and making him that dude from Raised by Wolves.
Yeah.
Because he does become very important. But to my recollection, I don't think he actually rides a dragon. Only Adam does.
Yeah, and then there's Hugh the Hammer. Yeah, like he seems like a totally different character in the book. Like he's like, oh, like this is
Also, and he ends up fighting for Rhaenyra, but Aegon's the one who like gave him the money. So it's like, or maybe Aegon never gives him the money, and that's why, because in this episode, when's the money coming? He's like, I don't know, soon. So maybe he never gives it to him, and he gets pissed off.
That's what I'm thinking. I think, well, maybe like his daughter dies or something.
Yeah, I think it has something to do. They're gonna kill off his daughter, and he's angry at Aegon. But then, why does he then portray Rhaenyra's later? So that's a whole other thing.
But, yeah, it could be. Maybe he just doesn't give a shit about any of the roles and like fuck them all.
Yeah, that could be. I think his daughter dying might change him more into the character we see in the book.
Yeah.
I think his daughter and wife will die. Like not only his daughter just dying of sickness, but his wife gets killed too. That could change him.
But I noticed they gave him the sort of Targaryen hair, so I think they're setting him up to be a bastard.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we're going to get Ulf because we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah. Or are they just going to combine those two into one character? I don't know.
It could. I feel like they mentioned like the 3 main dragons though in the show so far, and be like, oh, we need to find writers. Now it could be they actually don't find writers for all 3 of those dragons, but
maybe they give Alan one of them in the show, or who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
I already think that. Well, this was one of my predictions. It doesn't look like they're going to have Nettles in the show. So, and she rides Sheep Stealer.
Mm-hmm.
So my prediction was that they're giving that to Rhaena, and then Sheep Stealer will die, and then Rhaena will still get mourning later. That was my prediction because I don't think it doesn't.
Okay.
There's no casting information on Nettles. doesn't appear she's at least going to be in season 2. They could bring her into season 3, but not have her ride Sheep Stealer. So
Yeah, but Nettles was supposed to be at the Battle of the Gold again. They might not even do the Battle of the Gold, but anyway.
I don't think Nettles is. I think Rhaena will be at the Battle of the Golden, maybe. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I think that
yeah.
some of Nettles' storyline, except for the fact that Nettles ends up, having sex with Damon. I don't think they're giving that.
Well, no, I guess they'll probably just cut that whole thing out because I
They
was wondering before if they were going to do a Nettles and Damon relationship. So if they're cutting her out entirely, I think they would just skip over that part
they
of it.
would, but they could also bring her in just for that and skip her riding the dragon and all that stuff. So that's another. They could bring her
I'm
in later.
disappointed in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I
and
don't have any particular attachment to that.
and I don't think they're gonna show like because I think it was Screen Crush I was watching and talking about all the different dragons they were talking about the cannibal. I don't think they're even gonna bother showing the
Yeah,
cannibal because nobody rides him. Like right, everyone who tries is just killed
yeah.
because it's supposed to be like the biggest dragon in the world. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna show him. Um, and what was the other one that was like gray smoke or gray something that just goes out to the sea?
Oh, not sea smoke, gray
No,
smoke,
not
and
no
gray.
gray something. Yeah,
Yeah,
but does that ever gets a writer?
I don't think so. Which one did Ulf ride, and which one did Hugh the Hammer ride?
Oh, okay. So they rode
Ghost.
there's
Gray Ghost.
Grey
Gray Ghost.
Ghost. Yes, thank you, thank you. I knew it was something like that. There was Vermithor. Alpha Hugh rides one of those, and then what's the other dragon is I can't remember the name of it, but it was like Jaehaerys's wife, like Elaine or something. It was like her dragon.
Oh, Alyssa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember this. So
That wasn't Vermithor? I thought that was Vermithor.
no, I think Vermithor was Jaehaerys's dragon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. But anyway, so there was the three dragons that had riders that weren't wild, and so Hugh and Ulf get two of them, and Adam gets the other one, and then Nettles gets the wild dragon. So I guess they're just cutting out the wild dragon.
Well, not if my prediction is correct, but we'll see.
Wait, what was your prediction again? You think Alan's gonna do it?
Oh, that Rhaena was gonna ride because I had heard they're making Rhaena
Oh,
still in the show, so I thought she needs a dragon to ride, and they're sending her to the Vale, and so she could take Nettle's storyline and feed Sheep Stealer sheep and end up riding her. But she's still gonna get. I think she's still gonna get Mourning after that because Mourning she doesn't ride Mourning until after this whole thing is over. But I think they'd show wants her to have a dragon so she can participate. That's what I think.
yeah. So Brandon Silverwing, that's the other dragon. Yeah.
Uh,
I can't remember which one Hugh rides and which one Ulf rides, but yeah, those two dragons.
yeah, and Adam rides Sea Smoke.
Yeah, which they were definitely hinting at in this episode, setting the stage for that. But I don't. I hope they do the Battle of the Gauntlet, and I think that they will. I hope that whoever said that's wrong, but I definitely think they're not going to do the Rhaenyra's two youngest sons being in the boat and being captured by the Triarch because
They're younger in the show.
yeah, they are. Because in the book,
Rides off on a dragon.
He's like 9 years old, so he rides off on the dragon. Like he's way too young to do that in the show.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they'll just send them to the Reach. I mean, to the Vale. Sorry.
But are they going to cut out the part where Viserys disappears? Because that
I
seems
think they might.
because I guess they're not going way beyond the Dance with the Dragons, but in the whole history of it, Viserys just vanishes and presumed dead, and then he comes back as an adult and actually sits on the Iron Throne for a couple of years, like much later in life. But he was gone for a long time.
Well, they could like I think they could skip over him disappearing because Aegon is the older brother, so he would still become king.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to disappear.
But as you said, they're not really. I don't think they're going to go beyond the Dance of the Dragon
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could
because
just,
he doesn't reappear until after that, and I don't think they're going to cover that
yeah, I don't
area.
know. I still want him to disappear. I don't know. Uh, but I do want to touch briefly on Rhaenyra later. I know you haven't recently reread this
Well, I've
far,
read it before, but yeah, not recently.
but I'm just rereading. I just reread the part where she has the final confrontation with Aegon, and first of all, I don't think she's going to be eaten by Sunfire on the show. Like it just
Oh,
seems
you don't?
like they're going to show. I don't know. Just see when I think of it, it just anyway I imagine it just seems like hammy and cheesy, like 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 I could see her being burned to death by him.
Yeah, they could do that instead. Yeah.
But also like I keep wondering how they're going to do. And season 2 will inform me a little bit more on this. I'll do a video at the end of season 2, but I cannot imagine the Rhaenyra on the show becoming the Rhaenyra of the book.
Yeah, of the being
She
very
becomes
paranoid.
paranoid,
Yeah.
um, she becomes paranoid, and she like when and Mysaria becomes like her Laris and
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and she like after Ulf and Hugh betray him, she wants to kill
yes,
Adam and
kill
all the
all
others.
bastards,
Yeah.
and she tries to kill uh, put Adam to death, but the sea snake gives Adam some inside information and helps him escape. And then Rhaenyra finds out about that and puts the sea snake in prison. And as a result, she loses her fucking fleet, or like her all of her boats.
Yeah,
Which
I don't see that happening.
the Rhaenyra of the show being that stupid, like just
Unless like
maneuver. Like
I don't know.
I don't know. I just can't
I
see
was I was thinking about it. Maybe they could do a dumbed down version of that if they like build to it. Like if she goes a bit crazy after Jace dies, and
yeah,
like a dumbed down version, like not as bad.
maybe. Um,
Because I feel like when I got this episode and then we got her in the Mysaria relationship, I'm like, they're setting up for
yeah,
them to be like a thing.
yeah, definitely setting up for that. um, but yeah, I don't know. She's a very unlikable character by the end of it in the book. Like I don't have any sympathy for the book version.
Well, here's the thing: is that
with the show version.
I think the in the book all the characters are more unlikable, except for
Yeah,
maybe Cole. He's equally unlikable, but particularly like Allison and Rhaenyra. And it's interesting because it's written as a history book, so you could have the argument that the history looks on us unfavorably, and they see the events and are like, they think she's mean and all this, but in real life, actually she was quite gentle. It's just that's something that was lost to history. So maybe the same events will happen, but we'll find some way for it to be different and
just seems
not.
like a really poor strategic move to give up your whole navy like that by putting the sea snake in prison.
Yeah,
Like,
the show would have to come up with a really good reason of why she did that, more than just he saved Adam's life.
yeah, because I mean, and it was very much impulsive. Like she's gone mad at this point, and she's like so obsessed with everybody betraying her that she's not thinking rationally. So I don't know. We're gonna get that to that point in the show, so I'm really curious.
Yeah, so Brandon said history is written by the winners, and yeah, I think that's part of the thing of Fire and Blood is that history looks at everyone like the whole Dance of Dragons is a terrible thing, so they portray everyone a lot more terribly than they
Yeah,
actually
there's
were.
no winners in the Dance with the Dragon.
Yeah, that was good. That like when I had to hold my tongue last week when Darren's like, I don't tell me who's gonna win. I was thinking nobody wins. Everyone dies.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, Yeah, I mean, and the way it's written in the book, I mean, it looks like Aegon the Two wins initially, but then he dies, and then it's Rhaenyra's son who ends up inheriting the
So
throne.
technically, Team Black wins, but really, like everyone's dead except for
Yeah,
the two.
I mean, yeah. So technically, like it's Team Black's line that carries forward, but everybody loses. The
Yeah,
dragons lose
yeah.
because um, the last of the dragons die off during Aegon the Third's reign. So, um,
So Bella and Reyna become kind of important characters after like the events of the Dance of Dragons. So I think maybe they're like pushing that forward because they're not going to go that far.
yeah, yeah, I think so.
And I think they aged them up in this show.
They
Did
did, yeah. They're younger in the book at this point.
yeah.
It's just funny they age up some people and age down some
He's
people.
down.
It's really
Well,
weird.
I think Joffrey's younger. It's funny saying that word name, but I think Joffrey's the younger in the show.
He is. He is younger in the show than he is in the book.
Yeah,
How old
because
is Daron going to be? Is he going to be like 5 or something? Well,
well,
the way Potter talked about him, it sounds like he is like older, like he should be.
yeah, and for what he does in the storyline, like he needs to be older.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna. They said he was the youngest, so he's younger than the other three, but I don't think it's gonna be by that much.
Yeah. Yeah. He should be like 14 or something.
Hopefully, they don't pull Rob Stark and call him the young pup and get a 30-year-old to play. uh, anyway, um, yeah, this I don't know. I thought there was something else I wanted to bring up, but I'm blanking on it right now. So I said yeah. So I wonder if because again, there's some battles in the Riverlands that are like no main characters are there. So I wonder either they're gonna not do it, have it take place off screen, just talk about it, or get some main characters there.
Yeah.
I think there could be a combination for the different, but because some of the battles Damon is there, so they
Yeah.
could show that, have that in the show.
Yeah. I don't think they can have every little tiny battle that happened in the book.
No, like yeah, like I don't know because in the book they had the Iron Islands attack the Lannister places. I don't think they're going to bother with that because that seems like that just had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could mention it maybe, but
They could be like, this is why the Lannisters' forces are preoccupied because they're dealing
yeah.
with that bullshit.
Yeah.
And it would just be just like Game of Thrones when the Greyjoys took advantage. Oh, they're warring, so we're going to take advantage to attack these people.
Yeah.
But yeah. What is it? So episode 1, Blood and Cheese. Episode 2, um, Eric Arik. Episode 3, I think it's going to be Harrenhal definitely, but I think maybe even setting up for the Dragon Seas
I don't
episode.
think we're yet in the Dragon Seeds yet.
Okay, well I think maybe.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe.
Episode 4, Rook's Rest.
Episode 3 is not going to have any kind of big event. I don't think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be more of a setup episode, and then episode 4 is Rook's Rest. Episode 5, then it's going to be the Dragon Seeds, like them learning to ride the dragons, and then episode 6, the Battle of the Gullet, which they better fucking do. I'm sorry. And then episode 7, I think, is dealing with the aftermath and setting up for the finale, which will be Rhaenyra taking King's Landing.
That's exactly how I thought it. I think that's what's going to happen. So.
And I think that it's going to be interesting seeing. I think that's why we're getting a lot of Aegon, because after Rook's Rest, he's going to be off the show, and we're going to focus on Aemond.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's just going to drop off the show like he does in the book. Like
I thought he was, but
I don't think. No, I think we're gonna see him escaping, and he'll probably be up to something. I don't think he just be off the show for 2 years. Like I don't know. And just aha, I'm in
Yeah.
dragon.
I was watching like this. We did a spoiler discussion with Don Willie 2 years ago after season one, and you and Don were both insistent that they were gonna have you wouldn't know what happened to Aegon, and he would just pop up at Dragonstone like ha. Where I thought they might actually show him go to Dragonstone.
Yeah, well, I think I'm come around to that point of view now.
Right. Because of the fact they're using that character and that actor so much this season.
Yeah, I think that's why I've come around to that, because of the way that they're using this character in this season. And now seems to me like they can't just drop him for 2 years.
I don't know. I think they could because the show's kind of. I don't know.
They
But
could. They could. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, after last season, where I was like, Aegon, they could afford to get rid of this guy for 2 years.
yeah.
But now it's like I feel like, yeah.
Well, I think they're just using him so much because they know he's going to be gone soon. But either way, I think they're definitely going to have Aemon be the king regent and be in charge for a while.
Yeah,
be the main guy because
yeah.
they're definitely setting up for that. So if Aegon is around, he's not going to be like ruling or anything.
Yeah. Oh, Alex49 says they say the show might go on for 5 seasons. That would be new because they've always been saying 4 seasons.
Yeah, I've heard 4. It doesn't seem like how are they going to stretch it out for 5?
Yeah.
That's because I like plotted it out exactly.
That's like, there's a Ballad of Golet, and they like really drag out season 2, and they wait for season 3 to do the Battle of Golet and the Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne, and then they can drag it. But that's
really don't.
I wouldn't like that. Dragging this very long.
From what they've done so far, like I don't know if you remember with our discussion with Don, like we were saying Blood and Cheese would be in episode 1 or 2. He was convinced it would be like 3 or 4. But no, it was episode 1, the Eric and Art episode 2. We thought that would be later. So they're going faster. So I don't see them spreading it out that long. Especially the 5 seasons. Unless the only thing I'm thinking of 5 seasons is if the 5th season they show the events after the Dance of Dragons, which I don't know how interesting of a season that would be.
Yeah, I don't know that.
But unless just saying like that maybe season 5 is going to be a totally different story, like they're going to do like Aegon's Conquest or something.
Well, Aegon's Conquest is going to be its own show.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, that's still in the works for the future. Duncan Egg has started or is
filming. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, Duncan Egg is happening. Aegon's Conquest is another one that's down the pike.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, they could always change. They scrapped some story ideas.
I don't know. What's your source, Alex? Because I've always heard 4 seasons, and 4 seasons just makes the most sense to me. Yeah. Unless they're going to just start dragging the story out.
Yeah, which I really hope they don't. I was like banking on them like going at a pretty quick pace because I don't know. I think I heard something that's kind of implied that season 2 was going to end with Rhaenyra taking the King's Landing. I think it kind of has to. Like that would just make the most.
I've been saying that since the beginning.
Yeah, me too.
It has to. So this person who comes on my channel and was like, "Oh, it's been confirmed they're not doing the Battle of Golet." Like, if it's been confirmed, then they're not, and that's true. Then they're skipping it, or they're doing it out of chronological order and having it take place after Rhaenyra takes over King's Landing, because you have to end there.
Brandon, I heard about the vague idea of them doing a Aegon's Conquest show a long time ago. I didn't know that was still a thing. But
yeah, but them cutting this to 8 episodes. But when there were 10 episodes, I thought they were going to end with Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne. When there's 8 episodes, I still think they're going to end with
Rhaenyra. They're going at a faster pace.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're still going to do 8 episode seasons and still hit the beat because I just read the book and there's really not that much meat. Like, I don't know how they could stretch it out. They would have to make up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it needs to be 4.
But that's the other thing that I'm noticing, that the book is like, I think I forgot this, that it just hits the major events, and that's it. You don't get any of these characterizations that you get in the show, which is
Yeah.
why I think the show is, I don't know if I'd say better, but it's a better adaptation. It's a better type of book to adapt, let's say, to television, because something like A Song of Ice and Fire is vast and expansive, and you can only do so much, and you got to chop it down. Where this, you can add so much, and it gives the showrunners more leeway.
So Alex is hearing the same thing that that dude said in the comments on my video, that he heard the Battle of Gullet was being moved to season 3. But if it is, then what if they, how would they do in season 2?
Exactly. They're already going through it fast. Like,
I mean, I could see them doing it out of order. Like they've done things out of order. Like,
yes. Oh no, they've been doing everything out of order. Yeah.
Yeah, not everything, but
a lot. They've been doing a lot out of order.
Certainly do the Battle of Gullet after Rhaenyra has the Iron Throne. But if that doesn't really make any sense, though.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
If they don't have the Battle of Gullet or Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne in season 2, then what the fuck is in season 2? Like,
I know.
The season, what would they do for the rest of the season if they didn't have the Battle of the I'm calling bullshit. I'm sorry.
I think, yeah. Say, there's been, I don't doubt you, Alex. I just think some of these spoiler sources have been known to be wrong.
Yeah, I don't, that doesn't make, if not the Battle of Gullet and Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne, then what happens in the second half of season 2? Like, there is nothing. There is really, what are they going to do, that Battle of the Reach with Daron and make that the big climax? Like, that doesn't
we'll just fuck around with the Riverlands with a bunch of characters we don't know.
Yeah, no, I just can't see how they could do that.
And because I remember last year or 2 years ago when season 1 was airing, someone was saying that they were going to end season 2 with the Battle of the Gullet, and I was thinking, no, that's too late. Like, they're going to go beyond that. I really did, like, pushing it back to season 3 literally makes no sense to me. But I've been wrong before. I could be wrong, and maybe they find a way to do it.
They could find it. I think they still have to end with Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne, so they would have to find a way to jerry rig it so that it happens after that, which still doesn't make any sense that would happen after that.
Because I don't see them doing it in a way that I would be happy with. Because it seems like the only way because I just read the book, there's not that much there. It seems like they would have to really spin their wheels a lot to push that stuff up back to season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe I can't see it. I can't see it.
Yeah, I really hope that's wrong. I really do.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. Well, this is almost 2 hours, so it's a good place to end this here. Well, big thanks to everyone joining the chat. Brandon, Alex, thank you so much. Everyone watching this, everyone else watching this live, and everyone watching this in the archives. Thanks so much for joining. And of course, thanks to Alyssa for joining me. As always, if you just want to give a shout out to what you're up to and where people can find you.
You can find me all over on Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and 2024 has been a year where I've been taking a lot of time off, and probably will continue forward into 2025 as well. But I do have 3 videos that I released in June. One is a Star Trek Discovery related video. One is my House of Dragons predictions for season 2. Counting the Brooks Rest, which I now know is episode 4, I am 1 for 3 for sure that I know of. So, yeah, come check me out over there. You can check out all the videos I've done in the past. I've done a lot on Star Trek, and also you can find me here every Monday to talk about House of the Dragon.
Yeah, Brandon, I know you're joking because you got the smiley laughy face, but God, yeah, I've been hearing that since 2016. The Winds of Winter's nearly finished. I'll believe it. Like, I'm not going to believe it until the book is literally in my hand. Jeez. Um, yeah, but Alex is saying that I'm not saying it's confirmed, but then cutting the season makes me think they'll stretch things out. I disagree because I think they can do a lot more, a better, more compact, cut out the bullshit with 8 episodes. And I think the reason why they cut back to 8 episodes is all the dragons cost a lot of money, and so it's cheaper for them to do it in 8 episodes.
Yeah. The only way that I could see them moving into season 3 is if they put it out of order and make it happen after Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. Even though that doesn't really make any sense,
It doesn't make any sense.
but that's the only possible way they could do it. Because Alex, if Rook's Rest is in episode 4 and they're not having the Battle of the Gullet, what the hell is episode 5 through 8? Like, what are they going to do all that time? Like, yeah, I mean, the only way they could do that is having Rhaenyra still take the King's Landing at the end of season 2, but push the Battle of the Gullet back. Which
I suppose they could. Maybe they want to keep Jason the show longer.
Yeah, maybe, but I kind of don't want them to do that.
Yeah, I don't want them to do it either. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, go listening to the reviews. I'm not doing a whole lot of new content, but you can go check out my old content.
So if you're finding me for the first time, my name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. I'm going to be here every week doing House of the Dragon. I also do my own House of the Dragon reviews, as well as reviewing Star Trek. Sorry, reviewing Star Trek. Every episode one at a time. I'm currently in season 5 of Next Gen, and yeah, you can check it out for that and other crazy stuff going on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.